Hi everybody. This is Better Together, brought to you by Shrink's Clubhouse. This is a four-part series for the month of May, Mental Health Awareness Month, in which we will be having open conversations with other organizations to talk about mental health, to try to break down stigma revolving around mental health. And today we have two very special guests. We have the CEO and co-founder of Shrink's Clubhouse. We have Gwen Schrank, and we also have GR Zuniga, operator of production operations at Operation Sick Care. And without further ado, please welcome our two guests.
Thank you so much, Carlos, for the introduction. My name is Gwen Schrank, and I am so happy and blessed to be here with you guys today for this Better Together series. I first want to just start by saying thank you also to GR for being on the show with me, for the introduction as well, so that we can lay out for you how excited we are and what you can look forward to and all the exciting things that is going to be coming together for future episodes and what our mission and goal is, which is to save lives, stop stigma, and make sure that the people that we are surrounded with and people we get to be around with have the support and resources that they need, regardless of what they're going through. Shrink's Clubhouse was started in 2019. It was founded because I went through a situation where I attempted to end my life and was in a mental hospital for a week. And when I got out, there was no resources available to me in my area. And so it was very important for me to self-advocate. And to do that, I wanted to create a place and a space to invite other people in who were also going through some of the similar things so that we can work together to problem solve and to bring resources and to find resources. And so we are kind of known as the place in our area of the place you go to when you don't know what to do. Because when you come to us, you're going to receive love, value, and respect, and a sense of belonging. And so that has turned into something that not only has been a good model for our members and our organization, but also with our community partners coming together to work together for resources and for healing and recovery and working together. And so that's just a little bit about how Strengths Clubhouse started and why we do what we do and why we will continue to do what we do. And we hope that you join us in this because you matter, your voice matters, and everything that we are accomplishing together involves you. So GR, tell us a little bit about your portion in that.
Hi. Yeah, absolutely. First off, thank you both so much for having me today. I think it's an honor to be able to have these conversations and be a part of helping the community and to save lives and to help people heal. It really does mean a lot. And the reason I'm here is I am actually a full-time caregiver to my brother, Doc Ziggy, who is the founder of Operation Sick Care. And I am the director of operations for Operation Sick Care. He comes up with all the crazy unicorn ideas of how he wants to not only help himself heal, but help his brothers and sisters in the veteran community. They have already gone through a lot as they, he was a part of the 20-year war, the longest war that we've ever had. They've endured so much, and they've brought back a lot of injuries and things that can be seen and not seen, and that's been a little bit rough. And then they have this other fight in getting health care. And so what we've been doing is not only working through his journey of healing and trying to make the best life for himself, and what he says is live unbroken. That's actually the mission of Operation Sick Care, is to help veterans and family caregivers live unbroken, because family caregivers have their journey too as they help their loved ones um, navigate what they're going through. So, with all that being said, I think that we have a long ways to go as a society to figure out what helps people heal their best. And I think there are a lot of well intended solutions out there. There are things like bureaucracy and culture and a whole bunch. There's so much out there that we have to think about as we live and heal. And what I love about what Gwen's work is and what Shrink's Clubhouse does and so many other organizations in the peer community is they're out doing the work as the best they can with the resources they have at hand, and they're out there fighting every day to for that next day, if you will. And I think that it's just so important that we take our conversations to the next level so that we can start bringing all of those things that people are doing individually and kind of creating a network of people and organizations that can get the message out louder and prouder and stronger because um, interestingly enough, one of the things that I learned from my brother is that a lot of times people thank him for his service, and his response to that is, "You were worth it." And
Mm.
I think that that's something that we have to do as a society as we ask ourselves these questions and face these challenges and do the work is remember that we are worth it.
That's a good point.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's great. That's great. And that's something I love. I really, really love and admire about both of the organizations that we have here today. Shrinks Clubhouse, the model I always hear is something like reimagining healing or you matter, really putting an emphasis on the people, that we're trying to help out. Operation Sick Care, live unbroken. That's just so powerful. It's so empowering. It's giving all the power back to the people who don't think that they have it. And with that being said, I'd really like to ask what are some of the ways that each organization here really like really lives out on a day-to-day basis, and for instance, how does Shrink Clubhouse, how do they go out into the community and give love and give value and give respect to anybody who walks into the organization?
Well, we are an organization that we first started out with an actual location, and it was a unique location. It was an old jail that was built, it was a historic building. It was built to actually house people um, who were arrested with mental health issues. Four of our offices were actually jail cells, and one of them was a padded cell still. And so we created a beautiful space with it. And it was, really cool to be able to turn a space that once used to lock us up into a place where we invited people in and to give them freedom to choose, freedom to be who they are, freedom to learn about who they are, freedom to self advocate, the freedom to learn about their diagnosis and their trauma and the different things. And so some of the things that we for reimagining healing and changing the perspective of mental health as a whole, because I personally believe just the term mental health is a stigmatized term. And so we want to find other ways to, communicate that without it triggering people. And so there's mental fitness, there's many different terminologies that we can use to teach people how to do that. But one of the things that's really important for us at Shrinks Clubhouse is that we invite people in to do the things that they love to do. We
Mhm.
always start off the healing process and the healing journey by asking them, what is that thing that you absolutely love to do, regardless of like if you're going to get paid for it or not get paid for it, like you just love doing it because it brings you so much joy. And when we get that answer, we work with people to figure out, okay, how can we use this as a healing mechanism for what you're going through? Because when you're doing what you love, your brain is absorbing those good chemicals that make you feel good. And so when it's time to start talking about and processing through some of those harder issues and traumas and things that we go through, it makes it a little bit easier because we're balancing out the good with the bad, right? And so, and we're also inviting people in and giving people the opportunity to problem solve some of the things that they're going through. In the past, with our system, I'm going to call it our system, and I'm going to change it and say, yeah, the way the system was they always told us what to do. Our doctors, our therapists, our counselors, they always told us what to do, and they didn't ask us what we wanted to do and what was, what path we should take. But we do that. We ask people that, and then we work together with them with that, on the healing journeys, and we've seen so much healing and recovery that has been lasting, not just quick fixes. And I've experienced that personally with myself. I was in therapy for over 20 years, but when it came to working with my peers and problem solving together, my healing uh, escalated really fast. And working with other people made it, a huge impact. And that helper therapy aspect of it just expanded, and it helped us become a successful organization that's doing innovative things for people to recover and heal within our journeys.
Mhm. That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for letting us know. GR, what you got?
Um, this is such a great question. And one of my immediate reactions is to dovetail off of something Gwen brought up, and that is finding ways to do what you love and what brings you joy. Um, and our biggest message is to do things that bring you joy and not just do them, you know, ha- for entertainment value, but as you're going through this, learn ways how to use that joy as a healing mechanism, like Gwen had suggested earlier. And it's interesting how to tie that back to reimagining healing again. And I use my brother as an example a lot because I'm with him 24/7. But
Mhm.
and he did this inherently. It was something that was just innately in him when he went through his healing journey. So he has a Chevy Silverado that he loves, and it is
Great
a
truck.
kind of champagne goldish color. And that he will probably be buried in that truck if you let him, quite honestly. And he won't let it go. Like this thing is older than his son and needs some TLC and some loving, and he understands that. But he's like, nope, not buying a new one. And what when he realized that he needed to use a walker, right? Because he lost the right side of his body and he needed a walking aid and he needed a walker. And the VA gave him this crappy aluminum walker that was very sterile, and just there. And he said, no, I'm going to invest in me. I'm going to buy me one that brings me joy. It's going to be the same color as my truck. And that connection for him, because in his mind, this is my new vehicle. And if this is my new vehicle, I'm going to make my new vehicle fit me. And that brought him joy. And that also gave him the need and if this is going to be my vehicle, it's going to be the vehicle that takes me to where I want to be. And that where I want to be is to be walking again. And so that connection, another big thing, one of his major goals to be able to do again is pitch off of a pitching mound. We're a baseball family. We grew up playing baseball. He was a pitcher. He loved to pitch, and so that's one of his goals. So what he went out and did is he had a cane custom made so that at the end, the top of this cane where he held on to it is a baseball. And so now he always has a baseball on in his hand as a reminder that I am going to be back on that mound one day. And so even though, cause quite honestly, he hates the idea of having to use a cane, but now instead of that being something that brings him down, he found a way to use that something that he doesn't want to, that walking stick, that aid. Now it's something that's a reminder of the one day that I'm going to be pitching off of a mound. So now that's giving him that hit of dopamine as he feels that ball in his hand. Gwen was saying those chemicals that help in your healing and put your brain in the right mindset, and that is so powerful. It it is the difference between just another day with the equipment that doesn't do anything but remind me of who I am now instead of what I'm going to be when I do the work, with my doctors, with my caregivers, so it actually helps him to get him up to do the work that he necessarily may not want to do some days when he's not feeling well, because we all have bad days. We all have days where we don't feel 100%. We all have days where we'd rather sit in bed and not get out of bed. And if you can leverage the equipment around you that's going to help you and it gives you that lift to get you out of bed, that to me is reimagining healing. That to me is giving people purpose. And I watch it. I wouldn't say this if I didn't see it with my own eyes every single day, right? And another thing that Operation Sit Care does is leverage sporting events and different ways to let people just go out and be right in an environment that's fun. Well, we, like I said, baseball's a big thing in our lives. Other sports, my son Jacob, who runs one of our programs, he loves hockey, so we've started going to hockey games too. But giving us a time to bring in families that may be struggling, bring in families that who could just use a day out in the sun, of fun and togetherness, and instead of sitting in a circle and talking about our problems, we're enjoying a day out and just being who we are. And interestingly enough, what we're finding is that those few hours of fun and togetherness and hanging out and just being us are lowering walls and allowing people to be vulnerable enough to say, I'll give you a great example. We had taken a Gold Star family who had lost their son. He was in the Navy, and we went to a Kings game back in December. Well, the father had season tickets of his own to the Los Angeles Kings. Well, we were maybe second intermission, so about to go into the third period of the game, and his wife and his daughter had went off to the concession stand for a break, and he kind of scooted over, and we're chatting. He goes, "You know what?" He goes, thank you. I have season tickets to the Kings, but I haven't used them since my son died. I haven't come
Wow.
to a game. I couldn't bring myself to a game because that's something they did together and loved. As a matter of, his son was actually even named Luke after Luke Robitaille, who was a legendary Kings player. So that's how tied in he was and how big of a fan he was of this. And he couldn't even come to a game where he had already purchased tickets. That is huge for in I mean a grown man who has this you know love that he's staying away from because it reminded him too much of his son. But my brother was able to give him an opportunity to just try and come back to feel that joy of a Kings game again. And I can't think of another way. Well, I know there's a million other ways. Let's put it this way, but this reimagining thing that we're
Mhm.
talking about, this different way of thinking, this different way of acting is so huge and so powerful. And letting people know that it's okay to go out and have a good time and feel those good vibes again. And when you're ready to come and talk about what hurts, we're there for you.
Yeah. I think
Mhm.
that, like what you're saying too, um, is what's important in that aspect in teaching people or showing people and being an example is that it doesn't look like it used to look. It's not in a cold, sterile room
Yes.
anymore. We can be at the park. We can be at Starbucks to heal. We can, there's the opportunities are unlimited as
Yes.
Mhm.
to the places and spaces that we choose to utilize to be a mechanism for healing. And I know, like, as for Strengths Clubhouse, we are no longer operating out of a physical location because we go to our people. We ask them, where would you like to meet? Where's a good place for you? Because we want them to be in a place, in a space that they feel good and that we can meet and that we can, start that process with them, because we don't want them to think that their voice doesn't matter, their choices doesn't matter. And we can start that process of them being able to know that they have the power and control to make the decisions for how they're going to move forward and heal. And we're there to walk alongside of them in the
That's so
process.
cool.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's so awesome to see. It's awesome to see how both organizations, Shrinks started off in what was a jail cell, a jailhouse, and then you turn it into this whole place where you're helping other people. Same thing with Operation Sick Care with Doc. They gave him this just robotic thing to help you, get around. He says, "No, I'm going to change this, and I'm going to turn it into something that actually aligns with, my future, not my present,
Right.
but what I could be." And my
Mhm.
potential is, and I think that's very, very, very powerful. It's beautiful to see stories like that when individuals can come and take their own, maybe, lives, the dark parts, maybe the bad parts, and then turn that and help other people with their own suffering, with their own bad parts in life. You got to be able to say, or to try to look in there and say what set somebody apart to do something like that, because
Mhm.
I mean, I'll admit there's times where I think I'm very, very strong, I can do a lot of things, and there's other days where I don't. I feel like it's really not coming together. I can't put things together on my own. But I think it's a testament to something that I've heard recently called mental fitness. In the same way where you're physically fit, you can also be mentally fit. And I just want to ask, like, what does that mean to you, if anything, to each of you, and how that plays a part in your roles and your communities and your organizations.
Thank you. That's a really good question, and I love the term of mental fitness as well, when talking about mental health and wellness, right? Because fitness takes practice, right?
Mhm.
It's
Yeah,
repetition. And
yeah.
so that's one of the things that is important for people to know, is that things don't just happen overnight. You
Mhm.
have to put the work in, and you have to practice some of the things and techniques that you decide that you want to do to help you heal, with the help and resources of organizations like ours, and GRs, and other partner organizations. But what mental fitness means to me is, for one, self awareness, right?
Mhm.
Knowing yourself, knowing your triggers, knowing your diagnosis, knowing, you know, um, what got you to the point to where you are. And also self-care is part of it as well, making sure that you're pouring into yourself and you're doing those things in your life that's going to help your mind, body, and soul be the best that it can be, and in baby steps, right? Because it takes time and it takes practice. And then also, what it means to me is that letting what you're pouring into yourself, the love, the value, the respect that you're pouring into yourself, is also pouring out onto others. And they get to also benefit from the mental fitness that you're doing because they're seeing the changes in you. They're seeing the things that you're practicing with. And a lot of times they believe like, well, if you can do it, then I can do it too. And that starts a whole conversation about what, when, why, and how, you know, a person can heal and recover on their own terms, when it comes to, you know, everything about life, really, because what we get to work with, and who we get to work with, and the topics and discussions that we get to work with really affects every person on the planet, because one simple question to someone at the wrong time can trigger them in such a way that it just causes a whole lot of chaos. What is that question? What's for dinner? After a long day at work, you're like, what's for dinner? It's like, oh my gosh, you are not asking me what's for dinner right now. Do you know what I went through? Like, I've been doing this, and that, right? So, but just being aware that even that type of question can set a person off. Sometimes people think that it's always something big and dramatic that causes a person to not be mentally fit, but it could be the simplest thing that can trigger somebody to the point to where they are not in a state of mind that they would choose to be in, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's very important for people to have that self-awareness, that self-care, and the resources that they need to make sure that they can move and breathe and self-advocate for their lives and their healing and their recovery. What do you
Definitely.
think, GR?
Well, I think that it's so very important for people to make that distinction that fitness is part of health, part of
Mhm.
well being, and also that healing. Let me back that up. That fitness is something that is so vitally important to your everyday being, and it starts with both your mind and your body.
Mhm.
And um, it's interesting. I actually just went through something the other day that really brought this all to a huge realization for me. So my brother was going to physical therapy. Well, he not was. He's in physical therapy right now. Um, and we were when he does a new exercise, I always do that exercise so that I know what he's going through, so I know how that may affect him. And this exercise that he's doing, his physical therapist is really trying to make his mind connect to his body right now, but starting with his mind. So the exercises you wouldn't even think it's so amazing the new things I learned, which start to help healing is he had to put his cane behind his back, and so they had me do this as well, and his cane needs to touch his body at the top of his head, the middle of his back, and down at his tailbone, right? And then with that, he needs to bend at the waist forward, and he can't lose contact at each of those three touch points of the cane. right? And interestingly enough, when you do that, and it's a one, it's a simple exercise, but it is hard as hell. And um, the interesting thing when you do that, you can feel your brain thinking about it more than your body actually doing it. All the work is really going on inside your brain. And so that brain body connection is so important. And what I'm coming back to full circle is that when we think of fitness, we think of physical fitness. That's just we how we've been told to operate growing up. That it just is what it is. You think of fitness, you think of going to the gym, you think of you're out there jogging, you think of all these things. And we don't think of taking the time to make our mind physically fit and then how that mind body connection is. So when I hear, you know, mental fitness, it is we know we need to get up and exercise every day. We also need to exercise our mind. And then go and find the ways that we do that in the way we like to do it, right? So for me, that's writing. And then because director of operations, because that's I'm an operator. I love to make things work and find solutions within organizations or a household or whatever, right? I'm always the guy looking for the solution to make things better. um, and so what I end up doing is I integrated writing and finding solutions by every day. I write down what I learned for the day. I learn something new every day. Still, I'm constantly learning and I'm constantly curious. So I write down what I learned for the day every day. And then what I do is I keep that journal and I'm able to write that. And then I come back to it and I look at it at the end of the week. And then I'm able to apply it to what I did, right? So while I'm journaling and writing my thoughts and what I've learned, I'm becoming a better professional. I'm becoming a better person. And I'm keeping mentally fit because I'm exercising those reflective muscles in my brain. I'm exercising, looking forward and looking back at the same time so that I can apply those to being in the present and being in the moment. And before I started doing that, I was all over the place trying to do a million things in scatterbrained and forgetful. And the moment I took the time to do the work to be mindful about exercising my brain every day, my life turned around in all aspects.
You know what, GR?
That's what's
Like,
up. That's awesome.
yeah, one of the things I'd like to add to that, to your point too, is I remember before I was diagnosed um, with a mental illness, it affected my body first before
Yes.
it affected my mind. And so my body was experiencing all these different pains and aches and uh, just different things that I hadn't experienced before. And I would be in bed a lot because I was in a lot of physical pain. And I was being tested for everything under the sun, MS, all these different, tests that they were doing. And it turned out to be, it wasn't physical at all. It was, it started out, that's just how what was going on in my brain was manifesting in my body first. And
Yeah.
so that
I
connection
can
between
also share
brain
another
and
to
body.
your point is and this kind of hits on a couple of different points, and I love how these conversations really open up our minds and help us start to connect the dots about what's going on and how we can reimagine healing. So I'm not the type, well, now, before, the old me wasn't the type of guy who thought of mindfulness first. And I sure as hell wasn't going to be the guy who used meditation as a way to heal. I used to make fun of it. It was hoodoo, voodoo, mystical, BS, right? And
Yeah.
exactly. And I would make fun of that. And where I have been, where I have been fortunate, where I've been blessed, and in going through this journey with my brother, like I said, when he does something and he picks up something, I do it as well. And so a few years back, about 5 years back, I had to give up something that brought me joy, and that's playing softball. I grew up playing baseball. When you realize that you're not going to be the cool kid and make the major leagues, and you have to let that dream go, you pick up softball. And since I was a young man up until I was about 45 years old, I played softball. Well, my knees were giving out. My knees were killing me. I actually fell face first while running to third base one time in the middle of the game. And I finally came, I think, okay, came, I was like, I'm old, I'm older. I'm not old. I'm older, and body's starting to give out. That's how people typically think, right? The older you get, you kind of have to give up. You're not the young kid anymore, and it's all right, I'm going to stop playing softball. And that killed me. That literally killed me. I hated that. And a few years ago, when my brother got into using meditation as something to heal, I got into it as well. And as I started meditating, my knees stopped hurting. I could walk up the stairs again. I didn't have to take handfuls of ibuprofen every day. Meditation has is one of the contributing factors to me being in the best shape I have been in probably 30 years, right? And don't get me
Mhm.
wrong, I still have a few aches and pains every now and then, but they're not what they used to be. I don't feel like I'm old and decrepit and losing anymore. I'm actually considering how can I get back on the softball field now. And to me, that's huge, right? That something that I made fun of people for and finally got over myself and said, I'm going to try this. It was night and day.
Mhm.
I, I couldn't, we used to take my kids to Disneyland. I couldn't walk through Disneyland. I had to stop every 5 minutes. I don't have to do that anymore. I can enjoy life. And it wasn't because I was out there getting just physically fit. I had to get my
Yeah.
mind right.
Hmm.
Right on.
Absolutely. It's a resilience that I think honestly is inside of all of us. It just takes that ability to, change your way of thinking a little bit and finding that inner you that can really go out and do whatever you put your mind to, honestly. And both, GR, Gwen, Ziggy, great examples of just that, reimagining what not only healing is, but the impact that it has not only on your mental strength, but also your physical fitness as well, your ability to just function throughout the day. And that's beautiful, honestly. um
Carlos, one of the things that I'd like to just put out there too is with this Better Together series that
mhm,
we're starting with, we
mhm,
want people to know that we're going to have some discussions
mhm,
about stuff that don't typically come up when we're talking about mental fitness
mhm,
and especially during this month of Mental Health Awareness Month of May.
mhm,
We're going to be talking about Operation Sick Care and veterans and resources and the stories behind the possibilities of what recovery and healing is. We're going to
mhm,
talk about eating disorders.
mhm.
A lot of times people don't even bring that up because there's such a big stigma behind even that.
Yeah.
And we want to let people know that we hear them, we care, and we're
Mhm,
going to. This is a start of something, and of
mhm,
course, through this series of Better Together, we're going
mhm,
to highlight saving lives.
mhm,
And even like how we talked about changing. Starting to change, even the terminology of, mental health, because it's stigmatized, but
Mm,
also perhaps maybe changing the terminology of suicide, because it's also stigmatizing as well,
absolutely.
and bring more humanity to it,
Mm,
by discussing it in ways of like end of life
mm,
attempts and things of that nature, because it really brings the reality of what is happening into um, that hardship for a
mm,
person, right? Because it's just been so, it's been put out there in a way that people don't really um, um, relate to it anymore, because it's just like, oh, that person committed suicide, or
mm,
the statistic says this and that, but what's
mm,
happening is a person actually ended their life.
mm,
It's and to bring that humanity back to all of what we're talking about is so
mm,
important. And so we hope that this Better Together series will be something that provides people with the ability to start some more conversations and to communicate with us as well, so that we can continue this journey well after this series,
mm.
so that we can help more and more people and hear from more and more people, and impact our communities, our state, our world, together as a whole.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
thank you for sharing that, Gwen. And hopefully, um, I hate to come out and speak for you guys, but perhaps even this is an opportunity to be an open invitation. This is slated to be a four-part series, but we all know that we're not going to solve something like this in 4 weeks. And there's so
Mm,
many other people that have a voice and would like to share. And this can be an open invitation to, hey, if you've got something to say, reach out to Gwen, reach out to
mm,
Carlos, and maybe Better Together can be an ongoing series past these
Mhm.
4 weeks,
Mhm.
that will bring the peer community together and give them a platform to share and bring us together, and make us that much more strong as a community, because not only do we need to amplify these thoughts and these messages within our community, but what the peer community sees as other communities outside, and all the different places they're trying to push their message, they need to hear this too. And the more that we can leverage a platform and amplify our voices, man, it's something that we desperately need. So maybe we can use this as an open invitation to say, hey, we'd like to hear your story.
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
and
Yeah. For real.
and we like to hear what your, or if you have a story to share, we'd love to hear your story. If you're an organization, a peer organization, and you're doing some amazing things and some things that you want to communicate, we want to hear that too, right? Because not everything is for everybody, but everybody needs something. And
Mm,
so the more information we put out there, and the more we come together, the better we will be,
I love it.
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If anybody's got something out there, we're here. We're here to have open conversation. That's what we're here to do. And we're
Yeah.
hoping to, like Gwen said earlier, save lives with this. Reimagine the ways that we can become better, the ways that we can help others as well. And to stop stigma and to
Yeah.
get a better understanding of what's going on around
Mhm.
us, in a safe environment. I Yeah.
Well, I think this has been a wonderful conversation and a wonderful start. GR, thank you so much for all of your insight, information, everything that you're doing in the community. Um, just the partnership that we have is very valuable. And I'm looking forward to, what we're going to continue to do as partner organizations. And Carlos, looking forward to, what you're bringing to this platform with the podcast and helping to lead this. And just as the organization CEO for Strengths Clubhouse, it has always been our vision to make sure that people feel loved, valued, respected, and have a sense of belonging. And we hope that this podcast gives people that.
Gwen, thank you so much for having me. Carlos, the same. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to work with you, to work within the community, to spread the message of love and healing, and again reimagining healing. And how can we do this differently? And how can we do this in a way that brings people together? It just means the world to me. It Thank you again for the opportunity to help Operation Sick Care as an organization grow. And I just couldn't be more thrilled to be working alongside you guys.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you very much, GR. Thank you, Gwen. Thank you very much. Hopefully, we get to hear back from you again soon.
Yeah.
Um,
One last thing, uh,
yeah.
just to let the people know that you can expect for our Better Together series to come out every Friday. So we want for you
Mhm.
to look for them on various platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Share it. That you might also get, an email link with, so that you can view as well. But this is important. You matter, and your voice matter, and we can do better together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.